This episode is proudly supported by Crunch. Running a hospitality business isn't for the faint-hearted. Between ordering stock, scheduling rosters, paying bills, motivating your team, and keeping customers happy, there's a lot on your plate. It's no surprise that business planning often gets put on the back burner. Well, here's something that can help. Introducing Crunch, a new app to help simplify the business side of hospo. With Crunch, you get access to practical, bite-sized education, proven strategies, and a supportive community of hospo owners just like you. When it comes to the Crunch, if you're looking for proven ways to build a successful, sustainable business, Crunch has you covered. Try Crunch now. To get 14 days free, just head to crunchhospo.com.au.
Well, pork's always been, pork is heavily eaten in Thailand and in Asia, so there's always something porky on, and obviously the pork hock is still on the menu because people asked for it, so yes, it's back on.
This is The Crackling. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Well, I couldn't be more excited to see a very familiar face that I haven't seen for a long time. Marty Boetz, we're in Shortgrain. It's awesome to be here.
I'm so happy that you're happy that you're here. And it was good to see your head come through the front door last night.
It's a big head. You would have noticed it straight away.
I did. I thought, I actually didn't know you were coming. I thought we were just seeing each other today. So it's perfect.
Well, it was an amazing feast last night. Tell us about Shortgrain and being back in Brisbane.
Well, yeah, it's been, we've been open for about 9 months, and since last September, and I came to Brisbane because of some personal stuff with my mum and her husband, and but found this space while I was looking for something, something else, but then I wanted to look at this room because I love the windows.
Yeah, they are amazing.
That I saw on the when I was looking at whatever was for lease. And I came in and I really loved it, and all of a sudden I was saying yes to having 2 tenancies, and it turned into Shortgrain.
Well, it really feels like you. That's the thing that really resonated with me when we were eating here, is that it feels like you. Like, I've experienced your food in other manifestations, as you know, from your career. Is Brisbane market different? Is the iteration of your cooking? Tell us a bit about it.
I suppose I have been cautious with what I've chosen to put on the menu, and also because I'm not in the kitchen sort of per se anymore. Well, I am to a degree, but I've hired a head chef, Danny, and he's doing a wonderful job, and I've got to let him do what he wants to do, with my guidance, obviously. And so I'm enjoying that. It was challenging at the beginning.
Yeah, I bet.
But I was in the kitchen at the beginning, and then I sort of removed myself, and now I'm the food runner. I've demoted myself to being a food runner.
Are you enjoying being on the floor?
Yeah, it's good because the one good thing about it is because there's so many people that have got a Longrain story. Yeah, sure. I have heard so many since I've been here, like people that have moved here from Sydney, or they used to live in Brisbane, they went to Sydney, then now they've come back like I have. And also people from Melbourne that have moved up here. And I've met a couple that he asked his now wife to get married at Longrain. Wow. And they wanted to share that with me when they went to dinner that night. It was just really nice stories. And people that have made friends on the big tables back in Longrain, and they're still friends today, and all of that.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah. And that makes me really happy. And I hope that can happen here too.
You've had some really rock star pork dishes over the years, and the pork hock one that you're famous for in Sydney. Well, how does pork weave through the menu here? How do you utilise it?
Well, pork's always been, pork is heavily eaten in Thailand and in Asia, so there's always something porky on, and obviously the pork hock is still on the menu because people asked for it, so yes, it's back on. And then we use pork belly, we obviously use the pork hocks, and I use a lot of pork mince, which I mince get the butcher to coarsely mince it once through the big holes of the mincer.
Okay. Yeah.
And then last night we made some little dumplings out of that.
Beautiful.
That went into the soup, which was a pork broth, and then I also made a lon, which is like a coconut dip, and that had pork mince cooked into it. So there's many things that, but usually belly and hock and mince is sort of the go-tos that I use. I don't use the fillet or anything like that. It's more, I need the fat.
There were 2 stunning pork mains last night.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about both of them?
One is a gang hung lei, which is a northern style curry from Chiang Mai. So it's quite labour intensive to make. It has a lot of spice in it, like there's a lot of cloves. There's cloves, there's star anise, there's cassia bark. So it's more spicy than hot. And then when you cook it out, you put the pork, usually it's pork ribs and pork belly, but I thought the ribs might be a little bit too messy, so I used neck and belly. And then you cook the meat in while you're cooking out the curry paste, and then you add in pork stock, and then you put a lot of pickled garlic into it, and pickled ginger, which we pickled here. And then you have to dissect all the little, because I use baby garlic.
That was stunning,
those pickles. All of that. Yeah. And, so it's a little bit, it takes a while to make, but it's actually better the next day. I made it yesterday morning, and then just let it sit.
Yeah.
And the flavours developed during the day. But it is also a good one to braise. You can braise it. You can get it all together, put it in a braising pan or in a Le Creuset pot or whatever, and then just stick it in the oven. So it's worth it because you can get quite a few meals out of it if you're making it at home.
Totally.
The other and the other one was we just stir fried some pork hock that we cut into small squares, deep fried it, and then stir fried it with Chinese broccoli, chili, ginger, and fermented bean curd.
It was so good.
So the fermented bean curd you can buy in a jar, and then I just blend it with some more. It's actually fermented with Shaoxing wine and sesame oil.
The balance of that dish was stunning.
And it's very simple. So it is a Thai dish. So to make it a little bit not so pungent, I just mix the pickle or the fermented bean curd with some more silken tofu.
Wow.
And make it into a sauce. So when they stir fry it, it's finished with that sauce, and it's it's creamy.
Yeah. Is there any sort of particular cut or technique that you love doing with pork?
Oh, look, I've done... Well, at the farm, I loved we used a lot of suckling pigs, so then I used to braise, and I did it at Longrain too. I haven't done it here yet, but I used to braise the whole pigs after I've deboned them and then tied them and simmered them in master stock, cooked them properly, and then took them out, dried them, and then roasted them.
Wow.
That is
Stop it.
So good. And also tying a pork belly and also immersing that into master stock is really good, and then frying it and then doing a caramel with the master stock. So those two things. And I suppose the pork hock recipe is quite labour intensive as well.
Yeah.
And it's good to use the hocks where you use a Chinese cut. So the socket part, sometimes they cut that out, but they cut it straight across as a Chinese cut, and that gives you more meat. And then all the bones sort of get pulled out quite easily once the pork hock's braised, and then you press it like a terrine really, and then you cut it, and the caramel that we toss it in after it's fried is actually made with the liquor that it's braised in.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I actually did that at Darley Street Thai with David.
Oh, wow.
All the way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You have had an incredible career, but you're one of the few that has a real identity, and it's like a real sort of signature with your food. Like, you know that it's your cooking and it's like, it felt like your restaurant when I walked in. Like, what sort of advice would you have for someone young that's starting their career that, you know, wants to express themselves in the manner that you have?
Well, I had some young chefs here a little while ago, and I just said to them that you develop you develop your own style, of course. Of course, you've been mentored or taught by somebody.
Yeah.
But you take the best of what you've learnt from them, and then you'd make it your own. So, and there was years that I was, not years, I suppose, well, a few years when we first started Longrain that, you know, I was still Marty that used to work at Darley Street Tile or mentored by David Thompson. And all of a sudden, that sort of dissipated away.
Yeah.
And then I was just my own person rather than always, you know, it was like I was being copied. I was copying somebody else. But yeah, I developed my own style in all those years that I was at Longrain. I suppose, there's so many things that we did that I haven't even touched on here.
Yeah, sure.
And I've also got a whole new team that I've got to nurture still.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not in the kitchen, we still talk, and even all the dishes that we did last night, they're dishes that I've done before, and Danny hadn't done those except for the dessert, which he did himself, which I loved, which was the pork fat pastry with a duck egg caramel custard inside. It was just delicious. It really was. So I suppose the answer to the question is develop your own style and don't be scared of doing what you love and to your taste. Yeah. Because people say, oh, you know, sometimes my food might be on the sweeter side, or it might be, somebody said the other day, I use a lot of herbs. And I said, yeah, I do. I love that.
That sounds great.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That's me. And yeah, so if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Well, you've already made an incredible impact here, and I think the whole of Australia that loves restaurants and your food was excited about this development. What are you loving about what you're doing here?
I suppose now it's just my restaurant, so I don't have any business partners, and I hopefully will create a team that will stay with me, which I've got a great team right now. And so that's sort of something that I do love, and I suppose I've become a restaurateur rather than a chef. And that's something that I'm still working on in my head. Anyway, but yeah, it's something that I like the sound of it, but I'm still getting used to it. Well, because I still get into the kitchen and cook.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, but not as much as, otherwise I probably wouldn't have any staff left screaming at everyone. But it's good. I'm enjoying being in Brisbane. I like the restaurant. It's big enough. It's just big enough. It's not like 100 seater. It's 60. And I think that's a really sweet number. I mean, we can do a few more, but 60 is a good number to turn over.
Well, I think it's amazing what you're doing here, and it's so good to catch up with you again. So
you too.
Thanks for coming on the show again.
Really good to see you. Yeah.
We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you.
This is The Crackling, a Deep in the Weeds production in partnership with PorkStar. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we catch up with some of Australia's best chefs and pork producers to discover what makes Australian pork so special.